Hi everyone, Ramadan Kareem. Today's lesson is going to be about materials. Materials are everything or anything that we use for ourselves. Let's start reading. We use materials all day in everything we do. People need food and drinks, clothes and homes to live in. They also need transportation. All these things are made of materials. So, like they said, materials are everything that we use for ourselves, like I just mentioned. Next paragraph, there are two types of materials, natural materials and manufactured materials. Natural materials means that we find these things in nature. We don't have to make them ourselves. And manufactured materials means that we need to create these things on our own for other things that we need. Okay, let's start the new paragraph. Natural materials like clay, wood, wool, cotton, and rocks are all natural materials. They all come from plants, animals, and from the ground. Raw materials are materials that have not been changed by man. Sorry. Manufactured materials. These are materials made by man from nature substances called raw materials. Metals are made from raw materials found in rocks. Plastics are made from oil or natural oils. So, manufactured materials, like we mentioned, are materials that we create from other natural materials. So, manufactured materials are just materials that we create out of already existing natural materials. Okay, new paragraph. Choosing materials. It is always important to choose the right material for the right job. For example, we can't use wood to make the window pane because we couldn't be able to see through it. We can't build a car from glass, can we? Like they said, choosing the right material for the right job is important. We cannot create a TV from a rock, then how are we going to see through it? Correct? We have to choose materials which have the right properties. A property of glass that is useful is that it's transparent. Rubber is bendy. Metal is shiny, etc. So, choosing the right property of the material is what helps us get the job done. For example, like they said, we use glass for windows because it's transparent. We can see through it, that's why we use it. Rubber is bendy. It could hold a lot of stuff together or a big object and hold it all together. So it would help us a lot if we used rubber and not used string because string could easily get cut. Okay, glossary. Natural materials. A material that has not been made or changed by people. Manufactured materials. A material made by people. Raw material. Materials which are used to make a new material. Property. A characteristic of a material such as hard or shiny. Okay, let's talk about a different material. Glass. What is glass? It is a manufactured material made by heating sand, soda, and lime in a furnace. A furnace is very hot. When the sand is mixed with soda and lime and then put inside the furnace, it starts to melt. So we make glass by using three things: soda, sand, and lime. We put them in a thing called a furnace. It's basically a container where we heat everything up together, and it's very hot in itself. We mix all of the three ingredients together, and when it starts to melt, that's when it starts to create glass. After it completely melts, it is cooled down with water, usually forming glass sheets, which are then cut down to different sizes and shapes. So after we have this melted glass, we pour it down. We pour cold water down on it and create thin sheets, correct? Like it looks like almost like paper. It's just a thin sheet. And then we use these sheets to create whichever shape we like. Usually forming glass sheets, to make bottles and drinking glasses, the melted glass is poured into a mold and allowed to cool. Some other types of drinking glass are made by blowing air through a long metal tube into a blob of molten glass. So, just like we read in the paragraph, there is three ways to make glass. One of them is using sheets, and after the sheet is cooled down, we use it to create shapes. The second one is using molds. It's basically we pour the melted glass into a shape, into a hollow shape, and then wait for it to cool down so it would create whatever we want. And the third type of making glass is blowing air into the melted glass through a hollow tube. So we put the melted glass on one end, and we use the tube to blow into the glass and make a shape. New paragraph. Why do we use glass in windows and doors? Glass is used in windows and doors because it is transparent. That means it lets light through and we can see through it. What are other uses of glass? Glass is used to make eyeglasses, mirrors, jar bottles, cooking bowls, and dishes. It is also used to make lenses in binoculars, telescopes, cameras, and microscopes. There is also cutted glass fiber. Okay, let's continue. Like they said, there are many other uses of glass. We use them in glasses and like seeing glasses and telescopes and binoculars. We use them to see through other things. And there's also what we called glass fiber. Molten glass can be pulled out into the thin threads. When these threads cool, they become solid and they become bunched together to make glass fiber. It is used to make some boat hulls, car bodies, fishing rods, curtains, and installations to put in roofs and walls to keep houses warm. So basically, glass fiber is another type of glass that is actually glass that was pulled into threads. And these threads, after they become solid, we take them and put them all together and make what we call glass fiber. These type of glass are kind of different. We use them for different things. They're not usually for transparency, but they are used in the creation of other things like car bodies, The body of the car from the outside has glass fiber. Fishing rods, whatever we use to catch fish, it has glass fiber. Even our curtains, the things that we cover our windows with, have glass fiber sometimes. Glossary. Fiber, a tiny, fine thread. Furnace, a special fireplace for producing great heat. Lens, a transparent piece of glass through which things look bigger or smaller. Molten, a material that has been melted. Transparent, describes something you can see through. Next page. Okay, paper. Paper is used everywhere and every day. We use paper to write on, draw, wrap presents, for tissues, party plates, to make books, and many other things. So, we use paper to do many stuff. We can use it to write on, we can use it to wrap presents, we can use it to create books. These are different kinds of papers. For example, some are thin, like tissue paper, and some are thick, like book covers. Paper is made by wood pulp. Wood comes from trees that people cut down. Logs of trees are chopped into small pieces, which are then boiled with a chemical called caustic soda. This chemical, with the heat, helps turn the wood chips into a soft pulp, and this pulp contains small fibers that are pressed together and dried. When it's all dried up, it appears like a sheet of paper. So, we make paper out of wood pulp. It's basically a mushed up wood. And then from this pulp, we get them chopped into small pieces and boil them with a chemical called caustic soda. This is how we make the mush to make the paper. After that, the paper, after it becomes this mushy thing, it's then all pressed together to make up paper after it dries. For many kinds of paper, including banknotes, materials such as cottage rags are added to the wood pulp to make the paper stronger. So in order to change the type of paper, they add different things to make the paper to different types. For example, some people use something called cotton rags, and they add it to the pulp, so when the pulp dries out, it becomes a very strong type of paper. Okay, chemicals and glues may be added to bind the fiber together to make the paper even stronger and waterproof. So, if we want to make waterproof paper, sometimes different chemicals or glues are added to the pulp before it dries out, and after it dries out, it becomes waterproof. Cardboard is made by thick paper hardened with glue. Writing and drawing paper is made white by bleaching with wood pulp. By bleaching the wood pulp, sorry. A paper making machine contains a large moving belt made of woven cloth. The pulp is poured on this cloth, and a lot of water is removed gradually on this belt. The pulp is then pressed between two large rolls which squeeze it into thin sheets. This then passes under heated rollers to make it smooth. There's another type of paper making machine where a belt is used. This belt usually is made out of a woven cloth. So the pulp is poured down onto this cloth, and then when all the water drains out, it all falls down on this belt. After that, the pulp then is pressed with two large rollers, and after it squeezes all of the water out, it becomes a thin sheet. Then it passes under heat to make it a little bit more smoother. To make paper, millions of trees are cut down. This is causing a lot of harm to our environment. We can make a difference by reducing and reusing and recycling all things made from paper. So, sadly, when we use paper, we have to cut down trees. And because of this, many trees have been cut down to make books and papers and notes for us to write on. So, how could we help? We could reuse and recycle all of our paper in order not to cut down so many trees. Plastics. Plastics are made from chemicals that come from oil. Oil is formed or that is found underground and forms after millions and millions of years. Nowadays, we use more and more plastic. So, plastic is a chemical that needs oil, natural oils. And it's usually found underground and it has been sitting there for millions and millions of years. But recently we have been using a lot of plastic. Let's see the types of plastic. There are 5 common types of plastic. Here are a few of the things which can be made from each kind. Nylon, example, found in ropes. PVC, polyvinyl chloride, example, rain boots, shower curtains, and raincoats. Polyester, plastic cups, disposables. Polyethylene and polypropylene, example, chairs, dolls, and wires. And acrylic, which we usually use in phones. What are the properties of plastic? Plastics are cheap, easy to use, light, and don't rust or rot. And many plastics are difficult to break. Heat does not pass easily through plastics, so they are used for the handles of saucepans and kettles. Electricity does not pass through them, so they can be used to cover electric wires, switches, and plugs. They can be colored and can be molded into different shapes. So, plastics have many different uses. Sometimes we use it because it's light, like it's in plastic bags. It could be easily carried. And sometimes we use it in containers, like we keep food in them because they don't get rotten or ruined easily. Other times we can use them because they're easy to use for hot things, like in your saucepan. The handle usually is plastic because it doesn't really let heat through and it doesn't burn you. And other times we use them to cover electrical wires because they don't let electricity through, so they're very safe to use. So plastic has many uses and it can be easily shaped into whatever shape we like and easily colored. There are many different types of plastics which have thousands of uses. Some are bendy, some are rigid, some are tough, some break easily, some plastics are transparent, some other are opaque. So, different types of plastic. There's many different varieties of them. Some we use for because they're bendy and easily bent. Some are very strong. Some are not easily breakable. Some break easily. And some plastics are actually transparent and we can see through them. And some others that we can't. Plastic is a material that we use a lot in our daily life. To make plastic products, we consume a great amount of energy and material that is very hard to be regenerated again. So, in order to make plastic, we need a lot of energy and a lot of effort to create it. That material is oil. It takes millions of years to make oil, and so when we'll finish what oil we have, it will be hard to produce more. The gases that are formed in the production of these plastics are harming to our environment and polluting our air. That's why we should help reuse and reduce and recycle plastic materials. So, in order to create plastic, we need one thing. We need oils. And the oils that are necessary to create plastics are not easy to come by. We'll find it very difficult to create more once we finish what we have. So, how we can help out? We can actually reuse and recycle whatever plastics we own in order to reduce the amount of oil we might need to create more. At home, think about plastics we use that we could replace with better or reusable alternatives. Example, plastic shopping bags or forks, knives, spoons, plates, or bowls. Glossary, plastic, a light manufactured material that can be made or molded into different shapes. Opaque, describes something that you cannot see through and does not let light pass through. Thank you. This was the end of our lesson. I hope you learned something from it. And on to the next one.